Hello, hello. Can you believe that it's September? I'm just kind of in shock. Where did August go? That's what I would like to know. But here we are, September, and immediately we start thinking fall and color. And even though outside, and according to my uh, particular weather app here, we are in Georgia and it's 87 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's not really fall by any stretch of the imagination, but my imagination is going to come today on paper. So I started this last night. My grandson has been on a trip to Montana and visiting paleological digs and dinosaurs, and he has loved that since he was like teeny tiny, and the book was almost bigger than he was. And now he's 22 and he's actually able to be there and be on a fresh dig and see new discoveries, and it's pretty exciting for him. But he sent back some pictures of the scenery, which is gorgeous. I started this last night, but it's just a quick sitting and watching Wheel of Fortune and just trying to paint on my lap at the same time. It's on the other side of my swatches that I did the other day. 300-pound paper, so it's so nice and thick that you can just turn it over and use the other side. But anyway, I want to thank color. I did a sketch for my daughter of a painting, or not a painting, well, I did a painting of a picture that she had taken last year in our yard. She just really enjoys taking pictures of leaves and flowers, and this is the picture that she took. I don't know if you can see this well, but she took a picture of the yard with the leaves all piled up, and then there was this one red one, it's primarily in the center, and then this little one sticking out. So I tried to do it for her. I don't like this. She loves it, but I'm not happy about it. But I'm going to go back into it today, and I'm going to try again. And I think this time I'm just going to do my light colored background first, and then come back trying to do some color. I have a couple to choose from because she's so good with her photography. She gives me lots and lots of options. And this is the original painting. I mean, the original photograph. So you can see I really didn't have my colors right, in my opinion. And I needed better wash, first wash. And a lot of it is negative painting, which used to scare me a lot. But I'm learning to get over that. I was listening to LeRon this morning, and he was saying it's not the subjects you're painting you shouldn't be afraid of. You just approach that subject with the skills that you already have and bring that to it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is just like wisdom. So that's what I'm going to do. This is another half sheet back of a previous 300-pound paper that I painting that I didn't care for. So I just ripped it in half, and I'm going to come in to this today with my Daniel Smith palette that I created. I got the original palette. That first row was colors that was recommended by and put together by Steve Mitchell's favorites. I love Steve Mitchell, as an artist, not personally. And then I added to it, I added another row and another row. And what I do is I put double-sided tape about that thick, that Scotch brand double-sided tape, and I tear it off and I put a row in there. You can probably see a little bit of it sticking up right here. And then I take my little half palettes. I ordered a bunch of empty ones so I can fill them up with the colors I like. And then I stick them on there so they won't fall out every time. Look at that. Isn't that genius? Sometimes I actually hit the genius level. Sometimes. Now I have an issue here. Well, let me put it down here. I have an issue back here with my cats because they seem to think that this area is for them. And it totally is not. I'm going to not thoroughly soak this, but I am going to dampen it for my first wash. The nice couple things I like about 300-pound paper is it gives me a longer time to work because it will hold that moisture. I know Kaz showed us a beautiful, Kaz, I'm talking about I know this is on YouTube, but this is from my group, Follow Your Brush. So if anybody from Follow Your Brush is on here, you'll know what I'm talking about. She showed us a great video yesterday about getting your paper ready so it doesn't buckle. And so I'm going to work on that today. But I want to put on because the background in this picture, I probably need to bring it up on my phone so I can look at it. And put it right here. Because of the darks and the lights, watercolor, we do our lights first. But because there's such a nice, pretty grayish, silver almost sheen and color to these leaves, I'm going to go in with a nice, juicy concentration here of my graphite gray. And I'm just going to hit in these spots and see if I can't just get that concentration down for a wet wash. Let it dry as we do. Some of this is going to be darker, obviously, as we come back into it. But I think this will give me a nice start, I'm hoping anyway, to come in later and do some of my negative painting. Now, I'm not really leaving the whites at this point because I know from experience that this is going to dry so much lighter than what I'm doing at the moment. And then I also know, it's like Leron said, you don't approach a subject afraid, you just go in with the knowledge that you already know. So that was like pearls of wisdom to me. So I also am aware that when I do go back over this, after I've let it dry a little bit, I'm going to be able to make the areas that need to be lighter because of the darks that I add around it. I do have my desk at a tilt this morning. I like this desk. I believe I got it from Cheap Joe's. The other day I said I wasn't sure where I got it from, but I think it's a Cheap Joe's. And it ended up being huge. It's just really huge. It was bigger than I thought. So right now we are in the process of seeing that paper puff up. I don't know if you can see it on the video or not, but because it's wet, I have it taped down, just like we were talking about on that video from Kaz. It will puff up. That's one way you know when your paper's dry, is when it flattens. It's kind of like when I have cookies in the oven. When the cookies puff up, I know they're not quite ready, but when they finally flatten, I know I can take them out of the oven. I'm old school. I go by smell and I go by the way they look. I don't go by timers. It's like, why are you setting a timer? But anyway, same thing with my paper. When it goes flat, I know it's dry. And for me personally, I leave my paper taped down, if indeed I have taped it, until it's dry before I take the tape off. This is a low tack artist tape, so it does not tear off my paper as I remove it. I have found with other tapes, like a masking tape, for me personally, it doesn't really work. It will tear my paper. So I know people have a lot of suggestions, like run it across your leg first with, like your pants or your slacks or something, piece of fabric, and then rip it off, and it takes some of the tackiness off. But I do enjoy the artist tape. I also know there are people like Steve Mitchell that just use the white tape so it doesn't distract from what he's painting. I haven't learned that lesson yet. I purchased a big supply of colored tapes, and in my studio I have cats that like to eat everything from paintbrushes to tape, and I have a cat that will actually come in here if I'm not careful and pull all this tape off, and it won't be found on the floor, it'll be in his stomach. So I have this cute little bag that says eat, and that's what I keep my tape in. So I know that when I see that bag that says eat, I know that that's where my painter's tape is because that's what my cats will do to it. All right, now because this is taped down and I'm at an angle, my paint is migrating down, and so you can see that it did not stay on dark like that, but I think I do have a nice background on which to work for my pretend fall is here. And so my next color that I want to try to go in with to get some of these grays in here, the other one that I did that I showed you, I had sketched out ahead of time. I am not doing that this time. I am not a sketcher. I am I'm just going to get in there and do it painter. So I'm kind of looking at this, and I'm going to put some Jane's Gray in on some of my other dark areas and begin the process of looking at these negative spaces where the darks and lights are going to be, and how I'm going to want to approach that. I have more pigment than I do water right now because I want to kind of delineate some of these dark spots and show where my lighter ones are going to be. Now, this is not a painting that's going to get done in a day. I will more than likely have this dry, come back in, work on it some more, and do it in stages. When I try to get in a hurry and feel like everything has to be done right this second, is when I really mess up my paintings. Really seriously mess them up. So this I'm going back in with Jane's Gray. And because it is still wet on wet, I am getting some nice texture and shapes. You can see more of the light space from when I originally did it, even though it was the graphite gray, I'm sorry, not graphic. It has dried enough that I am able to come back in and get some markings with my Jane's Gray. And so it looks as though the background I have left some white, even though indeed I haven't. And I can get some other shapes in here. This is not going to be an exact photo. This is a representational painting of what I see, what I like. What attracted me to this picture to begin with was the fall leaves and the colors and the way they're all kind of falling over each other when they fell, and just the pattern. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. So I'm going to try to go with that a little bit here. Now I do know I'm going to have this one spot of red coming across. Just kind of do that with my brush, kind of make a way for that so that when I come back in, I know that's where I want it. And now I'm just kind of going over this with, it's actually just a brush, dampened brush, just to make some shapes. I've always thought that I could not do negative painting. It's like, oh, I can't do that. That's too difficult for me. But you know, it's just, then I realized I would be painting and discovering that, oh, I'm actually using negative painting techniques without being aware of it. So I did come back in here with a little bit of water. At this point, I probably don't need much more water. It's running off. I'm just using my wet brush to dry this off a little bit, make some shapes. Dry it off and come back in and just lift up some of this moisture. As you can see from the photo, I know it's gone off my screen now, but it is not all the silver gray. There's some beautiful beige colors. There are just those couple reds that I thought was so attractive, and some darker browns, and so I want to be aware of that and make sure that I make way for that with my dampened brush. Coming back in here to the damp paper, I'm just going to try to come back in and lift up some of this and leave some markings so that later I can come back and actually do something. What do you think? I will indeed try. But what I need to do is know when it's a good time to stop and let this dry for a bit. And then I'll come back in and work on more shapes and shadows and see what we can do about helping fall come a little bit early to Georgia. We get it later than y'all do if you live in a cooler climate. So that's what I'm starting with today. This is just what we call a first wash. I did it in graphite gray, and then I came back in with Jane's Gray, which actually will, as it dries and lightens, it's going to almost take that silver appearance is what I'm hoping for. And then when it's dry, I will come back and do a take two, and we'll go to the next step. And hopefully you will watch and follow along, and we can do it together. Thanks. Bye.